Am I the a-hole for telling my daughter about the real reason for my divorce with her mother? I left my ex-wife after 10 years of dead bedroom. I left as soon as my youngest was 18, and I didn't hide my happiness while doing it. I threw a ditch-to-be party, and I wake up every day since then with a smile on my face. My kids were not thrilled at this and stopped talking to me. I decided not to make amends with them or share my side of the story because I have done my part. I was there till they went to college. If they need me, all they have to do is ask. But I am 46, and I plan to fill my life with as much joy and happiness as I can. I just don't have enough time left to try to convince my kids to not hate me. I asked for divorce 1 year ago, and 2 days later, I met a woman online. My plan was to remain casual, but that didn't pan out as I planned, because this woman became my girlfriend pretty fast. Apparently, my ex has been feeding lies in my kids' minds, that I left her for my girlfriend and I was already cheating on her. My daughter, who is the oldest, started messaging my girlfriend in IG, saying bad things to her, how she is a homewrecker. I asked my daughter to meet me and talk to me directly instead of harassing my girlfriend. I bought her dinner and told her that I never cheated on her mother, which honestly I regret. I should have cheated on her. I wasted my time suffering. I told her about dead bedroom and how she didn't put effort in our relationship. She is 22, so I think she can handle it. She asked me why didn't I leave her mother before, and I told her that I had this notion that I should ride it out until kids are 18. I thought that was the right thing to do, but I'm not sure anymore. But I do know is that I don't want to think about it. I want to look forward to my future, and if she wants to hate me, she's free to do so. I seriously do not have any plans to convince her otherwise. I want to spend the rest of my life with people who wants to be with me. I really don't have any plans to convince others to be with me, even if they are my own kids. So if she wants to spend time with me, my doors are always open for her and her brother, but she can't harass the woman who makes me happy. If she has so much problem with her, then it's best that we keep our distance. My daughter asked me to give her proof that I only started dating my girlfriend after separation, and I showed her my messages. It took her about a month to process it, but she eventually apologized to my girlfriend, and we spent time together on New Year's Eve. As my daughter got to know my girlfriend, she understood how cool she is. They're bonding very well. My ex raged when she learned that my daughter spent time with my girlfriend. My daughter told her about what I said and told her that she does not blame me anymore and want to move on. Now my ex is up my behind, sending me nasty messages about how I shouldn't have told our daughter about our intimate life, how I am disgusting, etc., etc. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments before reading the update. Lol, pretty sure you have to actually be intimate in order to have an intimate life to talk about. Imagine being that bitter. Exes crossed that OP disclosed the truth, that they had a dead bedroom, but she was happy to lie about OP having an affair. Double standards much? Not the a-hole about setting things straight when your ex lied. But honestly, your whole attitude is pretty a-hole-ish. Dumping your kids because you did your part, as if it didn't even cross your mind that you're a parent for life, because you love your kids and want to watch them turn into thriving adults, celebrate their successes, and help them out when life gets rough. That kind of thing. I have an ex too, I get it. But that whole ditch-to-be language, I hope you spoke in a respectful manner in front of your children. She is their mother. His comment about there not being enough time left in his life to mend broken relationships with his kids. Bro could live to 90 easily. He's only halfway through his life and ready to live the rest of his life without family relationships because his ex didn't want to sleep with him. Ridiculous and pathetic doesn't even begin to cover this man as a father. I threw a ditch-to-be party, and you wonder why your kids were mad at you. Maybe your ex is annoying AF, but you don't seem to be 100% all there either. I get what you were saying, I really do. But I think I deserve to throw a ditch-to-be party. I understand why my kids were mad at me. I uprooted their family, but I was not gonna live with that woman any more than I had to. And I am damn well gonna celebrate leaving her for every day of my life. You can't seem to grasp the point. Ditch-to-be, the mother of your children. You have zero respect for their mother and it shows. You should have left years ago because your kids seem to have believed you had a decent relationship with your mom. You lied to them. Your job doesn't stop at 18 for Pete's sake. You're an a-hole, and so is your wife for spreading lies. You're poor kids. Ditch-to-be, the mother of your children. I don't care. She was not a good wife. She does not deserve any kind of grace from me. I don't respect her, and I don't need to. She could have put in effort, but she chose not to. Now she's playing victim. She's pathetic. Next story. Am I the a-hole for breaking up with my girlfriend, 27 female, over her younger sister, 24 female? I need some outside perspective on the situation. I broke up with my girlfriend 5 days ago due to her sister's behavior. Me and my ex have been dating for the last 2 years, and during this time, her sister has come on to me multiple times. I'm not completely sure about the number of times, but it was almost every time I saw her. I've told the sister multiple times to leave me alone and to stop her behavior, as I don't do the cheating thing, but that did nothing. I've spoken to my ex about it multiple times. She even caught her sister in the act of trying to lock me in a room with herself. Nothing changed. I have spoken to their parents about it and that the behavior of the youngest daughter is unacceptable. And again, nothing happened. I am not going to lie and say the sister was ugly. No, she's actually really beautiful, but I am 100% sure I have not led her on or anything. Even when I greeted her, I gave her a side hug every single time. I have never been in a room alone with her or anything. I just kept my distance from her at all costs. I don't have her on Instagram, Facebook. I don't even have her cell phone number. We have never shared a text or phone call. Her family even gave me a stupid nickname, the puppy, because I follow my girlfriend around everywhere when we are over at their house. The only reason I follow her is because her sister's behavior seemed to stop when she's around. I have told her that I will stop going over to her parents' house because that is where the problems are. I don't want no part of it. She didn't like that idea and sulked around the house for weeks because I didn't want to go with her. No point in time did I tell her she can't go. I just said I wasn't going with her. I relented 5 days ago and went over. We had too much to drink and slept over at the parents' house that night. The morning I woke up with the sister completely naked in bed next to me. I stormed out the door and down to the kitchen and told her we are done in front of her parents. She was silent for what seemed like minutes and started to break down asking why. All I said was go look in that room, and I stormed out of the house and got in my car. It took less than 2 minutes, then the calls started to come in, not just from her, but her parents as well. I didn't answer any of the calls. When I got home 40 minutes later, I had 108 missed calls from her and her parents and 36 messages, 2 from her parents. The messages from her parents just apologized to me, saying they thought I was joking about the sister every time I brought it up, and they didn't believe me. All I got from my now ex was sorry and she will handle it and it will never happen again. I shouldn't leave. We can work through this. I'm just done. She has even gotten my family involved in our friend. 90% of everyone is on her side, saying I'm overreacting and I'm the a-hole for dumping her. That we can sort this out. I sent her a message that she has until Sunday to get her things out of my house. I'm just done. Surprisingly, she has not sugar-coated anything and explained everything correctly to everyone. But I'm still in the wrong for leaving her. Her parents in their messages are angry at me for hurting their daughter. My family's angry because they love her. Our friends are angry because I refuse to take her back and saying I'm overreacting. 2 years of this crap and I'm overreacting. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. If the genders were reversed, that would be looked at like a sex crime. You told everyone you could and tried to avoid it. Anyone outside of her and her parents being salty is an a-hole too. I agree. What is messing with my mind a bit is that 10% of people on my side are all men. All the female friends and the ones in my family are saying I'm taking it too far by breaking up. That is the reason for my post. Every female I have in my life is saying I'm the a-hole. Well, I'm female, and I think she was absolutely harassing you. And getting into bed with you naked? Absolutely trash behavior when she knows you have a girlfriend. The fact it's her sister makes it worse. You told everyone multiple times it bothered you and nothing was done. She doesn't get to cry because she didn't consider your feelings. I honestly can't believe anyone is on her side if she told them exactly what happened. Seems you need better quality friends. Exactly. How is anyone okay with this behavior? If Opie did this behavior straight to jail, he'd be labeled a creep, and this would be assault/harassment. Both of those things would be true. The fact that everyone, but especially her immediate family and her sister, is nonchalant about it is alarming. Opie needs better friends. Not the a-hole. You try to work it out for years. Undoubtedly, you aren't taken seriously by her or her family until a naked girl is found in your bed. Good riddance. I personally don't know you, but I'm a woman and totally agree with you cutting contact. I'm not sure what your family and female friends are thinking. If your girlfriend or her parents had walked in while you were still asleep, it would be an entirely different ballgame. You would have been accused of who knows what. Crap, now I'm actually scared. That has not even crossed my mind at all. They haven't hit you with anything, so undoubtedly they know you didn't touch the sister. I'm just saying if they had walked in while you were asleep, things could have been different. The way you reacted shows them you're a stand-up guy and was telling the truth all this time. I'm glad you got out of that situation. Thank you for the nice words, but a little too late to start believing me. At her parents, she acted like that in front of them. The only time she stopped was when my ex was in the room. Not the a-hole. This girl was sexually harassing you. Think about it this way. If you had a male family member do all this to her and get into bed naked with her, she would have called the cops. The sister is a predator. Save the messages and go to the cops. They probably won't do anything, but you can start a paper trail on this woman. If you have a lawyer or can afford one, get a lawyer to send a well-crafted note to both the sister and the rest of that family to leave you alone. They're a bunch of enablers. I'm so angry for you. I haven't thought of going to the police, but we'll have a chat with my lawyer and discuss possible actions. Last story. Am I the a-hole for putting my ex and his sister on blast for being hobosexuals? I, female 26, just broke up with my boyfriend over our short road trip. Initially, my plan was to spend 3 days doing my modest version of Eat, Pray, Love all by myself in a 4 to 5 hour distance from home ratio. I'd been saving up to stay in 3 different accommodations. No Airbnb for me, just hotel rooms and exploring cities that I'd never been to, and visiting my favorite town, which is 1 hour away. By the time I was ready for my trip, to celebrate a career milestone, I already was in a relationship with Mac, male 34. He insisted on coming along, and this created friction. I gave in to his demands and we agreed on splitting costs. I would pay for the hotel rooms, and he would drive us and cover gas costs plus half the meal costs. The first hotel was really nice. I booked a suite with perks and a lovely view. The rest of the accommodations were average, between a low-cost bedroom and guest house. I hated the first hotel experience. Mac asked me if we could meet with his childhood friend. It was very short notice, but I wasn't against meeting the guy and his wife. I learned during our meet and greet that Mac had invited them days in advance but neglected to tell me. I let it slide because I honestly thought maybe there was a misunderstanding. I didn't enjoy meeting his friends. They didn't do anything in particular to offend me or anything. It's just that we were supposed to be enjoying a date, and his friends were there, and I felt invaded and out of place. It felt like an outsider because I couldn't really contribute to their conversations. They started drinking, and I refused to charge it to our room, and Mac's face of anger made me feel horrible. Also, when he floated the idea about bringing his friends, I suggested we could meet the next day at the next town, but he insisted that it had to be that night at that hotel. His friends don't strike me as bad people, but I felt Mac made a unilateral decision and I got bumped. He promised it would just be dinner, but I finally went to sleep at midnight and he was smiling and super happy to be with his friends and allowed me to go to our room by myself. He never showed up, despite telling me that he would join me in a few minutes. I called him past 2 a.m. and he said that he was out of the hotel because they had the munchies. I exploded on him and told him to not bother coming back, and that I would have all his belongings handed over to him at the front desk. I couldn't sleep because I was hurt and angry and checked out really early in the morning. He called me names and said that I don't appreciate the meaning of lifelong friendships and that this is why I'm a loner, and that he was humiliated in front of his friends. I said not to worry about it and rented a car and blocked him everywhere and removed the "in a relationship" tag from my social media. His sister tagged me in her social media rant about people who think they are better than everyone else and tried to put me on blast by describing almost the same exact situation at the hotel in her cryptic blabbing. I uploaded receipts in one of his angry texts, accusing me of being controlling because I refused to charge their drinks to the hotel room at my expense, since he was gonna pay it back. I said I will never allow hobosexuals into my life again, since I just had a very ungrateful experience. His sister deleted a post, but my best friend says that while she knows I'm right, maybe I was cruel because now this will chase him for a long time. She may be right, since I have an otherwise stable and promising future, and maybe it came across as poverty shaming. Not my intention, I just wanted to set the record straight. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Absolutely not the a-hole. Anyone saying she sucks for having compromised and tried a new boyfriend out on a vacation are missing the point. That's what dating is for, to see if you are compatible. So she compromised, realized he was too selfish/immature for her, and ended it. Shouldn't have agreed to pay all housing and half of food. That was the red flag. Trip shouldn't have happened. But yeah, I do feel for Opie. Sounds like someone who is trying to see the best in people. Shouldn't have allowed him to come in the first place. This was supposed to be her Zen vacation, and it tagged along because one of her plans was in his friend's hometown. The fact he made plans before she said he could come is ballsy. Sorry he ruined your trip. At least you were rid of him. Not the a-hole. I have to give OP props for not waiting until the next stop to see what further BS he was going to pull. He got 3 strikes. 1. Unilaterally invited strangers to her, to join them. 2. Tried to charge the drinks to the room. In my opinion, to look like a big shot, with a very real possibility of OP never being repaid. 3. Brings them to dinner, allows OP to go up to the room alone and then disappears without a text. No, I don't think it reflects poorly that OP was willing to change her plans. Plans were made when she was single. When it rolled around, she was in a new relationship, And a weekend with a new partner is a pretty excellent way to see if you are compatible with someone. Compromising on this is a hallmark of maturity and part of being with someone. While it imploded on her, the boyfriend did her a great service of showing that there's a reason why he was still single at 34, dating a woman a decade younger. He clearly still hasn't gotten his act together. Good riddance, Opie. Hope the rest of the trip made up for the terrible start. In my opinion, his first strike was forcing his way into her trip that she had planned on her own. That was already red flag to me. Asking would be fine, but insisting and being pushy is too much. Am I the a-hole for not forgiving my wife for kissing another guy even though she was suffering from PPD? My wife gave birth about 1 year ago and she changed. She was angry all the time, suspicious and paranoid of everyone. I think her mother filled her head against me. She would constantly accuse me of cheating, and mother-in-law and her would talk bad about me on the phone when I was not home. One day, she said she's leaving me and her mother was packing her stuff. She left with our daughter to her mother's house. Later that night, she called me and told me that she kissed a guy and asked me how it feels to be cheated on, accusing me again of being a cheater and how I betrayed her. I finally had enough and told her to not come back. Then she started blowing up my phone, and I refused to reply back or take up her calls. She did show up in our house after 2 days and asked me for help with her mental state. I took her to the hospital and she was diagnosed with PPD and was put on medication. She started slowly returning back to her normal self. I think she has healed and can manage by herself from now on, so it was the right time for me to divorce her. So I served her divorce papers a few days ago. She's not happy about it and begging me to not divorce her. She's blaming it on PPD. I understand that her head was messed up, but I don't tolerate cheating. If she had stabbed me or something, I would have forgiven her, but I just don't tolerate cheating. So I am proceeding with divorce. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Her mom did not do her any favors. Tell her to talk to her mom about this. Yes, mother-in-law was living the stereotype. It infuriates me to think of a mother messing up a daughter's marriage and mental health like this. I've experienced this firsthand. It literally took 10 freaking years to repair all the damage. The symptoms you are describing, paranoia and delusions, do not fit with postpartum depression. They sound more like postpartum psychosis. This is very different and very serious. It can cause paranoia, delusions, and hallucinations. Are you sure your interpretation of the diagnosis is correct? Years ago, when I worked in mental health, I worked with a social worker who had to have a client section because she had visited, and the client was oiling up the baby on a baking tray and about to put it in the oven because she thought it was a chicken. Postpartum psychosis. Well, mom certainly is toxic. I'm reminded of the Reddit story about a guy whose PPD wife was good friends with her neighbor. Neighbor poisoned the water there as well, told the PPD wife that the husband was a cheater. Coming home late, cheater. On the phone, cheater, etc., etc. Husband was not cheating. He was working more hours to save money and did everything he could to help PPD wife. Tried to get her meds. PPD wife became inconsolable over the cheating and left him and the baby. She eventually took her own life because of the lies of a toxic neighbor. The toxic neighbor had the absolute gall to ask him if she could speak at a funeral. It was so sad. No, it was tragic. Just saying that your wife may be, or had been, in an easily manipulative state. Her mother is feeding her garbage about you, and perhaps that should be taken into account before pulling a trigger like divorce. Sounds to me like she kissed the guy to punish you, not to sleep with him. It's immature, but I don't consider it cheating. I've been cheated on, so normally I jump on a cheat wagon fast. But just be hesitant to divorce someone who isn't in the right mind, who someone they trusted implicitly was feeding them lies while they were in a depressive state, and did something that she would absolutely not have done if those things weren't in play. I mean, did you ever have any concerns about cheating before all this happened? If you value the marriage and family, it might be worth getting your wife the help she needs with her depression, go to counseling together, and then decide whether or not the marriage will work. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my boyfriend and his kid out because his son was constantly scaring my baby on purpose? I was diagnosed with PPD, so I'm not sure if this is playing a part in my actions or not. I've been with my boyfriend for 6 years, and he has a 12-year-old son, Jake. I've owned my home for nearly 10 years now. They moved in 2 years ago. Our daughter is 3 months old. Now, Jake loves his sister. He's always holding her and trying to help. But there's been a massive issue since I had her with him purposely scaring her, walking up to her and yelling "Rah!" He thinks it's hilarious when she does startle reflexes and then laughs when she cries, saying, "Aw, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to scare her like that," but continues laughing and continues purposely trying to scare her. At least 4 times a day. Now, I have always told him to cut the crap. I've told him several times that he is hurting her ears. I've told him several times that it's not funny. And then not even 3 days ago, I lost it entirely and told my boyfriend and him that if he purposely scared my kid again, then they would be evicted and gone from my constant life. I said this because while my boyfriend does correct his kids sometimes, he also tells me I'm overreacting. I said that it's natural for kids to think it's funny when babies get startled, and I simply don't understand because I've never been around multiple kids. His son has a half-brother and apparently did the same with him when he was a baby. But anyways, I lost it and threatened to kick them out. And in that moment, I truly felt like an a-hole because Jake looked sad and just went to his room. But like, last night I stepped out of the room for a minute and my daughter was in her swing. Jake went to sit here, and when I was out of the room, I heard Jake, very loudly and fast, say, "What are you doing?" in a baby voice, and my daughter starts screaming immediately following. I heard my boyfriend take care of it. And then like an hour later, I went to the bathroom and the baby was in her seat. Then I heard "rah" followed by the baby crying, yet again. So I told them to pack their stuff and get out now. I didn't wait for a response, because now I'm trying to calm down my baby. Jake tried apologizing and said it was a habit, and my boyfriend started protesting, saying it's not a big deal, and I just refused to acknowledge their excuses and told them to leave. My boyfriend sat down on a chair, said he wasn't going anywhere, and that this is his house too. So I said I would leave then, and have a cop serve him an eviction notice. He tried begging me to calm down and kept saying, "He's freaking 12. What do you expect? He's not going to be perfect." I left and this morning I filed for their eviction. Everyone thinks I'm being ridiculous here, but Jake refuses to stop and I'm tired of him purposely yelling in my daughter's face to scare her 4+ times a day. Edited to add, I also have asked Jake why he does this, and he has said he thinks it's funny when kids cry. Not the a-hole. Yes, he's 12. Old enough to know better and to not do it. Old enough to listen to instructions. Would he like it if you startled him every morning? No. He's 12 but he's being an a-hole, and it sounds almost sadistic. Yeah, it will escalate when the baby is no longer scared by it. I hope he needs to protect herself and the baby at her home. I hope she sees this in case she starts backpedaling. That's exactly what I was thinking. If he thinks it's funny when babies cry, when she no longer jumps at scares, will he do little things to hurt her in order to make her cry? Not the a-hole. Jake thinks it's funny to scare a baby and laughs when she cries. I would consider his behavior abuse, especially since he's been told numerous times to stop. Even after threatened with eviction, he still did it. It almost seems like a power trip to him, picking on a smaller person with the express intent of scaring them. It might be that he is jealous because he isn't getting all of the attention. Regardless, he needs help. And repeated trauma experience for a 3-month-old baby startling them to tears multiple times a day is traumatizing, begins to program their brain. This level of early development is so crucial. The accidents we do as parents and family are enough to break them. Repeatedly being yelled at and startled by a random monster her brain has no means to process is a surefire way to mess up her development, permanently. The fact that the dad doesn't know that nor defend the baby from it, and like others have said, likely why he's not with a second mother and baby in his role as a dad, is an unforgivable offense. Next story. Am I the a-hole for giving my children permission to defend themselves and ruining my brother's visit? My brother has 2 stepkids, 10 and 8, that are absolute brats. He is infatuated with their mother though, so he will not discipline them. It's fine, because we do not see them much. Over the holidays, he came over with his family and the kids were horrible. My daughter 11 and my son 10 wanted nothing to do with them, so I gave them permission to go to their rooms and lock the doors to keep the peace. My brother and his wife started complaining because my kids were being bad hosts. I said I wasn't going to make my children unhappy to appease his. Eventually, my kids did come out to try and play together again. His kids started pushing my son around. He told them to stop, but they wouldn't. My daughter told them to stop bugging her brother, but they wouldn't. They came to us and told us what was going on, and my brother called them tattletales and told them to just go play and deal with it themselves. I asked him if that's what he really wanted. He said yes, let kids be kids. So, I took him to my daughter's room and pointed out that she had multiple belts and trophies for martial arts. Then I showed him my son's room, same thing. Then I went back to the living room and told my kids, in front of him and his wife, that they had my permission to defend themselves. He immediately called his kids over and told them to behave. Their mom was not pleased. She said that her kids were just having fun. But I said that my kids' idea of fun was probably a little more violent than hers. Long story short, they behaved for about 10 minutes and then they decided to test my kids. One black eye and an arm bar later, his kids are sitting on a couch while my brother and his wife yell at me for raising brutes. For the record, each of his kids, although younger, are bigger than my daughter, and they had multiple warnings to play nice. So, currently there is a huge family fight because I let my kids beat up as innocent angels. Unfortunately for him, most of the people that have met his kids are asking what they did to provoke mine. My mom says that I should not have told my kids to defend themselves. I told her that she was welcome to host any and all gatherings that involved those brats. Last time they were there, they destroyed a stuffed animal that had the remains of her last dog. She doesn't like having them in her house either. Am I the a-hole? My mom says that I should not have told my kids to defend themselves. What kind of stupid nonsense is this? Instead of defending the kids who are being bullied and laying into your brother, she wants to further encourage the bad behavior? I wouldn't trust anyone around my kids who's defending the stepkids' behavior, and I'd make that known. Some people are so determined to keep the peace in the short term and avoid hard confrontations that they willfully blind themselves to problems that will cause long-term damage. Easier for mom to ignore the stepkid's bratty behavior and pressure other family members to do the same than have a hard discussion with her son about his and his wife's parenting, risking her relationship with said son in the process. I imagine that this isn't the first time OP's brother has thrown a fit to get his way. It has maybe threatened his mom with no contact if she didn't side with him in the past issues, while OP has historically been more measured. If that's the case, then mom is relying on OP being the reasonable party to appease brother, as she'd prefer to keep a strained relationship with both her children rather than risk losing one, even if that means taking the blatantly incorrect side in conflicts between them, knowing that OP probably isn't going to escalate the same way that brother would. Not a-hole. Always encourage your children to stand up to bullies, regardless of relation. Yep, this early lesson reaps lifelong benefits. Last story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband's kids out of my will? I, 52 female, married John, 58 male, 15 years ago. When we met, he had been widowed for about 3 years and had 2 children from his previous relationship, Mark, 24 male, and Lisa, 22 female. I never met his first wife, and as far as I know, they were a happy family until an accident took her away. And John was devastated for almost a year until he started coming out of his shell. When I came into the picture, he was still heavily involved with his former in-laws, and had 2 young children as a young father under his care, so he was taking all the help he could from them, and they were his emotional support. I had no problem with that, and made it known to him that I would never try to come between him and any relationship that he and his first wife had created. When things became serious and I was introduced to his kids, they made it known instantly to me that I would never replace their mother, and that they weren't particularly pleased with my presence in their home. I accepted that, and I, in agreement with John, decided that we would let our relationship advance slowly to let the kids adjust, and that I would never force myself as a stepmother or anything like that. And I didn't move in until they explicitly said it was okay, and we got married with their blessing. This process took years, and family and individual therapy because both me and John wanted to make sure that we were respecting his kids' boundaries. The result is that we cohabitated, but I never parented them. I went to their school functions, cleaned for them, cooked, and we talked and had a cordial relationship. But I never disciplined them, never put rules on them. They never came to me to ask permission for anything or tell me their secrets or ask me advice, which was fine by me. That was what they wanted. In this time, I had 2 children myself, Kate 13 female and Laura 11 female, and the girls do have a sibling relationship with John's children. They've moved out in this time, and although I assisted some with their college expenses and such, also when they were growing up, I am no longer financially involved with them. This holiday season, John was talking about his retirement plan. He works in a high-stress industry and has been saving up for early retirement and wanted to put his affairs in order to retire the next couple of years. He still assists his children with a bit of a monthly allowance, and he told them he would be cutting that to put that money towards his own savings. And they did not take it well. They looked at me and asked if I could continue their allowance since I own my business and it's doing really well. And I said no. I do well for myself, but I'm not rich. And when John retires, I'll be the only income in the household. Plus, I'll have to save for my daughter's college fund plus my own retirement. As the conversation of my finances followed, they tried to say that it was my responsibility to take care of them. And I was just taken aback by that statement because they explicitly told me many times, including recently not just as children, mind you, that I was just their father's wife, not their mother. So, I have absolutely no responsibility towards them in that regard. When she heard that, Lisa got angry and brought up the fact that she expected to inherit my business someday because she grew up with it. I told her in no uncertain terms that she and her brother were entitled to nothing of mine, and certainly not my business which I built myself from the ground up since before I met their dad. They both got angry and left. My husband knew about all these arrangements well before all this, but is angry about how it all went down. It has been bombarded with messages about what a selfish witch I am since the argument, by his children and his former in-laws since New Year's, and even my daughters are mad at me now. So am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. They're not your kids, and you're not responsible for them. They themselves even made sure you knew this. They are rude and disrespectful, yet expect to be handed anything they want on a plate. You owe them nothing. If your business goes to anyone, it's your own daughters. Don't back down from this. They are not, never will be, and never have been your responsibility, which is what they wanted. But even my daughters feel like their siblings are part of this. I always felt like they as kids should put the boundaries and I shouldn't be the one overstepping. But now everyone is turning on me? I don't know if I really did something wrong. Your daughters had a different relationship with them than you, so it's understandable that they feel differently than you. They got to experience a sibling relationship with them while you were repeatedly told you're not family. You didn't do anything wrong. With how entitled his kids are acting now, I don't know if you should just give in anyways, but it's up to you and how you want to settle this argument. I just feel kinda bad, because I'm always reading in this forum about awful step-parent trying to force blended families and erase previous familial situations. And I always felt myself so superior by how I handled things and how I never let the memory of my husband's previous wife fade in my household, and the relationship of my daughters and their siblings. Now I feel like it's all going to the crapper. And maybe if I had done something different and tried to be more involved with John's children, we wouldn't be on this situation or something? I don't know. I am very confused and frustrated at this moment. Am I the a-hole for refusing to resign a lease weeks before leaving my pregnant sister homeless? I, 23 female, have an Irish twin, 24 female. We've been living together for 2 years. She's a single mom of a toddler. When we first moved in together, the apartment was only in her name, and she let me live with her. I was finishing dental assisting school and couldn't qualify for an apartment on my own. I still paid half the rent and utilities. And after graduating and getting a job, I became an official added roommate to the lease last year. I make a lot of money for my age, so when my sister was struggling to pay her half of the rent when her job cut her hours significantly, it was no-brainer to start paying more. I could easily afford all the rent, so covering another 25% is nothing. Plus, I love her and my niece. My sister has no help whatsoever from the father, so I help her as much as I can. He works under the table, so he doesn't get his wages garnished for child support. I have watched her struggle to afford daycare and food for her baby, so I also help her with that. 2 days ago, my sister sits me down and tells me she has news. She's pregnant. My jaw dropped. I ask who the dad is, and she starts crying. I didn't expect her to say her deadbeat baby daddy. I was shocked, and she continued on her explanation. She saw a girl commenting under his posts, and she went on her page and saw they had taken pictures at the same place at the same time. The girl also posted him for his birthday weeks later saying, "Happy birthday to my fiancé." She messaged her letting her know he's a deadbeat and got blocked. Then her baby daddy called her, saying she's a crazy witch, and that led them to getting a hotel room and they slept with each other. All to prove some point to his fiancé that he's not loyal and she can have him whatever she wants, because she sent her proof after they slept together. But the fiancé stayed with him. As she's telling me this story, I just sit there upset. I started asking her if she went to the doctor and how far along is she. She said she did stop by Planned Parenthood and got a scan, and she's 9 weeks. We live in a blue state, so abortion is legal here, and I told my sister that I wasn't going to be resigning the lease unless she got an abortion. She looked at me with so much disgust and started crying harder. She called me evil and said I'm a horrible person for making her choose between her baby or having housing. I told her with her hours now, she can't afford even half the rent, let alone the daycare she splits between me, our dad and aunt. So to understand the position she's putting me in since the responsibility's falling on me. She told our family, and they're mad saying I'm being heartless to even ask her that, and that I shouldn't punish her, and that I should sign at least 6 months so she can get her act together, since 5 weeks isn't a lot of time. I said no, she's ungrateful for all the help I've done, so I'm out. Now they're saying I'm an a-hole, since when I didn't qualify, she let me live with her even though I paid half. Now for the top comments before reading the update. I shouldn't punish her and I should sign at least 6 months. Not the a-hole. I hate when family tries to spend other family members' money. Tell your family that they can co-sign for your sister and pitch in on the rent since they are so adamant about it. You aren't forcing your sister to get a procedure. You just aren't going to live with her if she has another kid. The kids are not your responsibility, and you should not have to take care of them. Deadbeat dad's future wife should know that if he cannot afford child support, they will get it out of her wages. When they get married, the courts take into consideration the household income, so she will be on the hook for both kids, if in the US. If it's paid under the table, court will require him to get a job. Not the a-hole. You had the right intentions, although you expressed them in a way that wasn't apt. I mean, you played the biggest card you were holding in your hand. When we do something for our loved ones, we shouldn't hold that as a way to control them or their decisions. I can understand where you are coming from. She definitely shouldn't have this baby, rationally speaking. But it is not for us or for you to decide. I can understand that the responsibility will fall over you eventually. So you could have told her that she should reconsider and that you wouldn't be able to support that second baby. But using the lease card was like using a bazooka for killing a spider. So you might have been wrong there. You should play it positively going forward, like encourage and even somewhat push your sister to get a job, make a life for herself. She can't be dependent on you and others for all her life. She needs to sort out her life by herself. You guys are there for her to count on and to support her, but she shouldn't take it for granted. I brought up the lease since it's approaching and we spoke over the summer about wanting to renew again, so I wanted to let her know I had a change of heart. She does have a job, her hours are now part-time though, and she can't find a second one. I want her to have an amazing life, but I feel like it's a slap in the face for her to have another baby by a guy who doesn't help with the first one, and that I'm expected to support the new one. With one baby it was tolerable, but two is making me realize that I want more out of life than to stick around and keep helping her. Next story. Am I the a-hole for banning my sister and her boyfriend from my wedding? So my husband and I are getting married in December. My sister's boyfriend started asking if he could propose to my sister at my wedding. I obviously said no, because that's our day only. He can propose the day after my wedding, but not on my wedding. But he asked me again and again, and I said no every time. The 50th time when he asked me, I said not only can't he propose at my wedding, but he can't even come to my wedding. Then my sister started to fight over this. She knew her boyfriend wanted to propose to her at my wedding. I told her that it's gonna be my day and my husband's only. She started to call me names because I banned her boyfriend from my wedding. She said that if I'm not gonna let him propose to her, then she's gonna ruin my wedding dress. She even said that she's gonna sneak her boyfriend because she wanted to have all the family members be present on her proposal. I said that's fine. She's also banned from my wedding now. A few days later, some family members called me to say I'm a heartless person because I broke my sister's heart. They said she cried because she wanted to be on my wedding. She wanted to see her little sister getting married. She also said that I should have just accepted her wish and let her boyfriend propose at my wedding. So you guys tell me, am I the a-hole? You are not the a-hole. Your sister and future brother-in-law, however, are two matching pieces of work. She's going to wreck your wedding dress if you don't let her boyfriend come propose at your wedding? Wow. I would suggest that you hire security to make sure your sister and her boyfriend cannot attend. Her instability could truly wreck your wedding, particularly if she tries to make good on her threats to sneak in boyfriend and wreck your dress. As for her heart being broken, ignore. It's just drama from a woman who just really wants to upstage you at your wedding. Do not include her. Do not include her boyfriend. Share with your family in writing. Please stop contacting me about my sister and future brother-in-law not being invited to my wedding. Brother-in-law asked me many times if he could propose to his sister there, and I told him no, as the wedding is to celebrate the bride and groom and should not be hijacked by another event. After many requests, he still refused to take no for an answer, so I asked him not to come. Sister then said that she would come, wreck my wedding dress, sneak her boyfriend in, and have her proposal. She also called me all sorts of names. For these reasons, sister and future brother-in-law will not be coming to my wedding. I'm not open to further discussion on this topic. Best, Opie. Yep, let family know what their plans were. Also, Opie should let people who continue to harass her know that they can miss the wedding too. Get security and make sure she has no access to her dress. Passwords with vendors too. Not the a-hole, and this BS right here is yet another reason people elope. The nerve of your possible future brother-in-law wanting to steal your spotlight at your wedding. And family members backing him and your sister up, even though she threatened to ruin your wedding dress. Of course, you disinvited them. And you can put their little flying monkeys up for consideration if an invite take back too. Your sister saying just wants to see her little sister get married, so she can get a ring on it and avoid having to organize and pay for her own damn engagement party. Oh, hell no. Not the a-hole. Next story. Am I the a-hole for not sponsoring my friend's honeymoon? I've known my friend for almost 5 years, and we've always been good friends, but not particularly close. She recently got engaged to her boyfriend of 8 years and started planning her dream wedding, which from what I've heard is extravagant and way out of budget. Her parents are paying for the gown and venue while his parents are covering the food, decor, and other expenses. They have 3 kids together, and money has always been tight due to their growing family. A couple of months ago, we went out for drinks and all she could talk about was how she deserved her dream honeymoon but couldn't afford it. I felt bad for her. I've been working as a registered nurse for quite a while and my pay was good, and I had some money saved up as well. So I decided to offer to sponsor her honeymoon in Hawaii, which she eagerly accepted and was grateful for. However, things took a turn for the worse when we went shopping for bridesmaids' dresses. She insisted we wear a particular lilac dress, which was revealing and uncomfortable, especially for someone like me who doesn't have a 0 figure and is on the busty side. When I expressed my discomfort, she made a cruel joke about my appearance, comparing me to a baby elephant and suggesting I lose weight. I asked if I could wear a different dress in the same color, but she dismissed me and implied that my size was the problem. When I tried on the dress, it was a disaster. My stomach looked absolutely hideous, and my breasts were spilling out, making it uncomfortable. My so-called friends laughed and made jokes about my appearance. When I told the bride the dress wasn't working for me, her response was the last straw. She told me that because of my body size, nothing ever worked for me, just like my past relationship with Tyler, my ex. This was a particularly sensitive topic for me, and I couldn't hold back my emotions any longer. I left the place in tears and texted her that I was canceling her Hawaii trip and wouldn't attend her wedding. She became angry and told her sob story to other friends, but most of them sided with me. A few days later, she messaged me, apologizing and asking me to attend her wedding. I declined, but then unbelievably, she had the audacity to ask me to pay for her honeymoon, insisting I promised. She even made her fiancé's sisters and friends text me and pressure me to pay for her honeymoon. I lost my patience and told her that her financial struggles and her 3 kids were her responsibility, not mine. Then called her an entitled and stuck-up person who didn't even deserve my friendship. Now I'm in a dilemma, feeling guilty for my harsh words. I heard that she's been constantly crying and complaining about how I ruined her wedding. Some of our mutual friends are telling me that I can't take a joke and I am overreacting. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. She's dumb and an a-hole. Who picks on a person paying for their honeymoon? She was never a good friend. Not the a-hole. I always knew she was a bit inconsiderate, but I had no idea she could go to this extent. She makes fun of almost everyone, but the things she said to me didn't even feel like a joke. Way too personal and too hurtful. Not the a-hole. First, you shouldn't have offered to sponsor the honeymoon in the first place. You need to think carefully about why you did that because you shouldn't have. Contributing $250 towards it? Fine. But sponsoring the whole thing? Yeah, no. And to hell what anyone else thinks. You make jokes about my body and my former relationships, then I can choose to remove myself and my money from your presence. What they said was not a joke, and it is not your fault if this ruined her wedding. She should ask one of her other friends who can take a joke to sponsor her honeymoon. Please stand your ground. Have you already paid for everything? No, I did not pay for anything, and yes, it would have cost me over $10,000. From all the things that I calculated, it would have been around $11,600 or more. I only made such a big promise because she and I have been friends for a long time. And she was a little inconsiderate about others' feelings, but she was always good to me. Even though we were not best friends, she was one of the few good friends I had. And I know that sponsoring a trip to Hawaii might sound like a really stupid idea, but if I had enough money, I would not hesitate to sponsor a world tour. You may call me stupid, but I like doing stuff for people I love. But guess I befriended the wrong person. And I have always saved my money instead of spending it mindlessly. So, spending $10K for a friend didn't feel like a huge deal to me. Plus, I can gain that money back by only saving for 2 to 3 months, given my monthly earnings. She has been working really hard for her kids, and I saw it myself. I just wanted to give her a good vacation. The fact that you're single and make good money is the entire reason she invited you to lunch and talked about, oh, poor me, can't afford a honeymoon. That's all she really wanted from you. In other words, you did the right thing and she's not your friend. Last story. Am I the a-hole for giving my mom money in front of her relatives and telling her to decide who gets it? I'm visiting my mom's home country, and everywhere we go, someone needs something, and my mom expects me to pony up some cash. It is getting annoying. I came here to meet extended family and help my mom get around. After 3 days of this, I went to the bank and withdrew a large sum of cash. That evening, we were at a party with a bunch of her family, and it started. I said in my very poor Spanish that I would love to help all of them, but my mom knew them better and what they needed. So I gave her the wad of cash, said that was all the money I had to spare on this trip, and she could decide who deserved it most. I got drunk with my cousins and my mom was overwhelmed by her needy relatives. The next day, she made my hangover that much worse by yelling at me for the way I handled it. Apparently, she didn't have a spare minute without someone coming to her to explain why they needed money more than anyone else. She said she even started getting calls from people who hadn't come to the party, but heard she had money to help them. I said she had made my vacation into a charity trip, and then I went looking for more beer. She says that I behaved poorly and that I embarrassed her. Not the a-hole. Your relatives sound like leeches. No offense. I don't know why she was embarrassed. Her child was able to give her a large sum of money to help the family. That sounds like something to be proud of, or at least grateful for. She is your mom though. I'd try and talk to her eye to eye about how much you should be financially supporting everyone in the family. They aren't really. They're just on a very different socioeconomic stratum. I literally get paid more every day than a person on that country averages in 6 weeks. I understand why they see me how they do, but I would prefer it if they let me enjoy myself when I'm there too. If they don't have a relationship with you, host you when you come visit, or you only hear from them when they need money, you should be responsible for them financially. It sounds like you would simply stop hearing from a bunch of them if you stopped giving them money. It might be better to send your mom something like an allowance monthly to help the family, with the understanding that when you come to visit, you aren't asked for any. Not the a-hole. She expected you to hand over as much money as she felt the individual deserved, right? With her controlling your money? So you just gave her full control of the money and removed a middleman and let your relatives know who to ask if they needed money. It was a brilliant move to end her power play. I'm guessing mom didn't want the relatives to know she was determining who got how much, because it would just complicate her life. Relatives hounding her for money with her sob stories, getting angry for not getting any or not enough, etc. Info. Did you have a conversation with your mother about how this made you feel before reaching this point? Before we left home, it isn't the first time. Then 100% not the a-hole. Your mother messed around and found out. Good on you.